Just listen to that smooth acid jazz and incongruous over-the-top intro movie. This is when games were mental. But not in the gun-toting, bloody and swearing ways of today. Look at that! What's that got to do with racing? Anyway, Ridge Racer was a driving game franchise that dominated arcades in the mid-1990s. And the first game in the series was a flagship title at the launch of the original PlayStation. But later iterations failed to impress, and the series has since fallen off the radar. But there's still one game that stands tall even to this day, and it's well worth a play if you've never checked out the series before. Ridge Racer Type 4 was, obviously, the fourth game in the series, and it was a graphical shift from its brightly coloured and blocky predecessors. Here cars are cool and sleek, with brake lights leaving trails across the modern city skyline. It's clear that the game took a lot of inspiration, visually at least, from the recently released Gran Turismo's success, and blends elements of its design whilst retaining the series' trademark drift racing roots. The main way to win races here is to approach corners like a madman and drift the car until it's almost horizontal. You can sort of progress by taking corners carefully, and there's even a grip class of car as well as the traditional drift class, but, especially on the later levels, you'll have to nail a clean drifting line around increasingly difficult and sharp corners in order to succeed. Even if you hate drifting in racing games, the controls make it easy to approach. As one of the first analog stick enabled games, it really does handle well, with a good mixture of arcade sensibilities and realistic responsiveness. It's hard to say what attracted me to Ridge Racer Type 4 over other games in the series. I do think it achieved a great middle ground of traditional Ridge Racer gameplay with elements of more modern racing game design wrapped in a wonderfully presented package. It was just cool. From its art design, colour scheme and typography, to cars that look futuristic without straying into Wipeout territory. And of course, the fantastically weird acid jazz electronic music. The main game mode is Grand Prix, a career mode which, despite some weird eccentricities, such as passive-aggressive Yazaki here, keeps you coming back by drip feeding new cars, new tuning setups and new sponsors as you progress. It's a simple story mode that's often cheesy, but it's a good way of pulling you back in. Some other elements of the game were surprisingly ahead of their time. Take this MS Paint Light decal editor for example. Years before Forza, it allowed you to create custom designs to put on your cars. Yes, it was simplistic, but this is 1999 we're talking about. Another interesting feature was the ability to trade cars with friends using the Sony Pocket Station portable device. Unfortunately, the Pocket Station was never released in the UK, so this is a feature that's exclusive to the Japanese version of the game. Ridge Racer Type 4 really was a fantastic game, and I think it's worth returning to today. Sure, you'll have to get past the original PlayStation's wobbly pixels, and it does look extra ropey when blown up onto a HD TV. But in terms of sheer racing gameplay fun, it's a different experience than the parade of identikit racing sims available today. And if Namco ever decide to create a new main series Ridge Racer game, outside of a new console launch that is, I do hope they follow the mould set by Ridge Racer Type 4